Hello everyone, Vampire218 here, bringing you another video in my Pokemon Spotlight, the series where I look over Pokemon and analyze how good they are in the Draft League format. Today I will be looking at Hawlucha, and I'll be looking at Hawlucha because I got inspired from watching a video from The Gaming Empire. I will put a link to his channel in the description. I highly suggest you check him out. He also does Pokemon Draft League content. So starting off, we will see that for Hawlucha's stats, they are slightly below where they want to be for HP. Again, the same with the special attack and the defense. They're just a little bit lower than I'm comfortable with. The HP, having a 78 isn't the worst thing in the world because of the way you're going to be playing Hawlucha. However, having a low defense, a low special defense, and a low special attack does force you to play in a very repetitive manner, which is speedy hits and kill. So its attack at 92 isn't the best in the world, but it certainly could be better, but it's certainly not the worst either. It's very solid and can put in a lot of work. Now, at 118 speed, it is a very fast Pokemon. This thing is going to outspeed the majority of Pokemon that you will see. So, looking at its abilities, it has two abilities which I think are of use. The first being Unburden, and this is the one that I think will be seen used more, because as it shows, the speed increases when an item is used or lost, and we'll go into how we use this later. The other ability is Mold Breaker, and I am a major fan of Mold Breaker, but just because it's not really on a Pokemon that can really take advantage of it, I think that Unburden is better. So, going back to Hawlucha, we go down some more. We're going to look at the moves and then go into the items, the synergies, and whatnot. So, before we go any further, Acrobatics is one of the best moves that you can have on Hawlucha. Now, I say this because if you combine this with Unburden, you are now hitting with a 110 flying type stab move. So that is one of the strongest flying type moves that is in the game. Boosting it with stab means that Hawlucha is going to be hitting like a truck. Going down some more, you have quite a few options on how you want to play. Now, depending on the rules of the league you're in, if you're going in a GBA style league, you can do baton passing. Although baton passing, because you're going to be not able to take too many hits, you have to strategically think about how you're going to do that. Although it does get agility to raise its speed by 2, it will get Swords Dance to raise its attack. You need to think if you're going to use Baton Pass, because I think it's a very tricky thing to do. It also gets Bulk Up and a couple other good moves like that. So it gets Brick Break, which one of my favorite fighting moves, because it goes through Reflect and Light Screens, which you could see in the format. It gets Drain Punch, which is very good as well. If you don't expect to see screens, I highly suggest Drain Punch, because that's going to get you some of that health back that you're going to inherently lose. We get Fire Punch, which is good if you're going to be going up against a Steel type, because your Flying type moves will not be hitting Steel types too much. So it's always nice to have an additional way to hit them. Now, Flying Press is very interesting because it has two different typings. So it counts as a fighting type move and a flying type move, which is really good if you want to put this on there. So a set could be sub Flying Press and Drain Punch and then Acrobatics with something like a Citrus Berry. But Flying Press, depending on what you're going against, could be very good as well. Although it all depends on how you're doing it, because Acrobatics could feasibly hit harder. It's all about what you're going to be going against that week. You know, as we go down, you're probably not going to want to run an HP, and High Jump Kick, again, if you're going to be running High Jump Kick, you really need it, because if you miss with it, that's going to ruin your momentum. Iron Head, very solid move if you're going to be going up against a Fairy type, or a type that is going to be weak to steel. Very good for that. As we go down, it gets Poison Jab, which is good if you're going against grass type, although you will have fire coverage. So, again, it's also another move that can hit fairy types. So, as we go down, you get Rock Slide, which is really good. You also get Rock Tome, and I'll talk about that in a second. But Rock Slide is really good if you're going up against another flying type, because you're probably not going to hit them too hard with your fighting moves or your flying moves. So, very good to have Rock Slide, as also to cover fire types. Now, Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb, many will consider it to be inferior, but you got to think of it depending on the match you're in. Now, Rock Tomb, in most matches you won't bring, but if you're going up against something that's going to be raising speed, you should probably bring Rock Tomb just to keep that speed down. Because while Hawlucha is fast, after one speed boost, quite a few mons can outspeed it, and you don't want to be outsped because you're very frail. It gets Roost, which is a very solid recovery move on any mon that can learn it. You get Steel Wing as another steel type move, but again, Iron Head's, I think, better. You get Stone Edge, which if you're willing to risk that accuracy is good. You get Superpower, which if you want to, have that lowering of attack and defense, good for that one hit. You get Thunder Punch, great. You get Taunt, very solid move. And Taunt goes with the more utility version of the Mon, where you might run Tailwind as well, or might do some baton passing or something weird like that. You get Bug coverage, which is also very nice in X Scissor. You get Psychic coverage. If you can barely see that there, that's Zen Headbutt. But the last move is U-Turn that you get, and that's really good because that lets you keep momentum up. Now, looking at its moves, Hawlucha gets huge coverage with its moves. So from that alone, it's a very good mon. Now, going up to its typing, we're going to see that it has an immunity to ground, it will strongly resist bug, it resists 3 types, and is only weak to 5 types. Now, you can get around this if you pair it with something that's going to be able to take those moves. Pairing it with maybe a dark type, because you have this being strongly resistant to bug and resisting fighting, whereas the dark type will take an immunity to psychic, but it'll take the hit from fairy. So you want to think about how your team's going to work and combine Hawlucha with some mons that are going to work for that. Now, going into the theory crafting of how we're going to use it, it is an OU, and to be honest, it shouldn't be an OU for the Draft League format, because there's better OU Pokemon. So I think that's one of the major weaknesses that Hawlucha has, is that you do not want to be running it in OU when you can get a better Pokemon. Also, it doesn't learn Defog, which is a major frailty of this being a bird-type Pokemon and not learning Defog. And just a couple other moves you can run: Facade if you're expecting a status, or Dig if you need to use a ground-type move. And Fling. Fling is of note because you throw your item, you get rid of your item, you have a high base power depending on what you get rid of, and then you get the Unburden boost. But either way, we're going to go into item crafting, and I like using a sub-citrus set, as the Gaming Empire mentions and uses in his video. Again, the link will be in the description, because this lets you get up a sub, they either break the sub or they don't, and then you get a free attack, or it basically gives you the freedom to proc that and still be at about 75% of your health, and then you have a massive speed boost. A few other berries would be good as well, combining, not maybe just citrus berry, but ones that like boost your speed if you're at a quarter of your health, or things like that. Even like your I guess not sash, unless you're expecting to instantly die. So this set right here is a very common one, I would think. Maybe not high jump kick. It really depends if you need that fighting move and if you need it to do that much damage. I personally think the utility you might get from Drain Punch would be better, but it's all about what you need and what you're risking. So having a sub, very standard move. Swords Dance, very good if you can predict them to, if they don't break your sub, brilliant. You get Swords Dance and you're going to be sweeping almost the entire opponent's team. So just going down here, we're going to look at the weaknesses because that's how you're going to want to theory craft. You're going to want to cover these. So again, flying type mons, because you really can't do too much to them. And that's a big issue because if the opponent has a flying type Pokemon, you're going to have a really hard time taking it down. And they're not going to have a hard time taking you down because you have the fighting type. So flying hits you neutral. Electric types, very common to see very fast electric types. So until you're set up, you could feasibly be outsped. Slowbro in terms of water types, but I think not just being Slowbro, being, you know, a bulky water type with the psychic typing, I think bulky water types in general are an issue unless you're running that Thunder Punch, because you will just have a hard time getting through a very HP invested and defense invested water type. Unaware Clefable, of course, is always an issue. Any Pokemon that's going to be unaware, like Quagsire, going back to the issue up here of the bulky water types. And ghost types are going to be an issue for you because they do say Doublade here, but it's going to go for all ghost types just because you can't hit them with fighting type moves. And then Doublade and Aegislash if you're using Ubers, especially because you will lose out on that weakness that Steel has to fighting. So overall, I would say Hawlucha is a very solid mon. Probably would be better if it was UU and not OU for usage, but it is what it is. And I would suggest if you're going to draft Hawlucha, you feasibly could wait, because I don't see this mon getting picked up too often. Even though it puts in work, this mon is usually undrafted from what I've seen, so unless you really, really want that Hawlucha, I would say, you know, wait for it, because you can pick up better mons early and then use Hawlucha to fill a role you might be missing. Anyway, I have been Vampire218, bringing you the Pokemon Spotlight on the Pokemon Hawlucha. If you liked the video and you wish to see more Pokemon Draft League content, please leave a like, favorite, comment, share, and subscribe for more content. Bye!